Hi. How has this end of winter rolling into spring been for you? Um, for me, it's been a tremendous amount of transition. Different decisions have been made, which there'll be more on that much later. Um, the things that I'm grateful for are more pronounced, like very grateful for where I live. I'm very grateful for the friends and people that I have in my life. And the last couple weeks, I've been waking up like, wow, how did I get here? How did I co-create this? What life choices brought me this? And I think that's because uh, I've also been thinking a lot about where I came from in this lifetime for the people who are thinking about that differently. But I mean, the family that I was born into, the place where I grew up, um, the people that I came in contact to at younger ages, um, and a lot of people don't know this about me. People think that I'm from LA, and I chose LA when I was 20 is when I moved there. Um, and so it's been my home base as an adult. Uh, and when I lived in Chicago, people kind of thought I was LA, you know? It's a place where the feelings, the energy of it kind of stuck to me. So wherever I go, if I say I'm from LA, people are like, "Oh, that tracks." Um, but I'm from Southern rural Virginia, and I grew up really sheltered on 65 wooded acres, and I was homeschooled. Not the whole time. I did go to public school, as well, but I've been thinking about that a lot lately. Like, how did she, who came from being honest, came from poverty, came from educated parents, though, which is an interesting mashup of the way that that happened. And I know that education is what got me to be like, yeah, the best I can do, what I'm gonna do is go to college. Met a whole bunch of different types of people. I had never met Latino people who were not Mexican before college. And I had also only met like maybe 3 or 4 Mexicans in my life. Now I live in Mexico. um, before college, I'd never met a Jewish person. I'd never met a Middle Eastern person. I'd never met an African person. Um, I had met a few people from the islands from like different churches, but we weren't close. Yeah, you get the idea. Sheltered, sheltered, sheltered life. And I was having a conversation with someone today about passports. And they were in their 20s. And they were like, I keep thinking I'll get a passport, but like I haven't done it yet. And I said, okay, I'm about to be on my soapbox. Get a passport, please. Um, there's the stuff about, will you have access to one later? And there's the fear mongering around it. I'm not doing that. But there's something about having access to people living a different way of life or realizing they live the same way you do. There's a range of what could be true, and actually seeing it with your own eyes instead of seeing it online or through the lens of media uh, is very impactful. Um, and I was super blessed. I don't know how my parents pulled this off. I remember there were a lot of fundraisers. I got to go to Spain when I was 14 for like 10 days. And I remember going there and saying, "Oh my god, I'm gonna live here when I grow up." Had I not gone, I never would have thought about travel in that way, and it took me probably another 15 years, doubling of my lifetime, to go anywhere else. Like I'd driven to Canada, but that wasn't from Chicago, you know. Um, it's definitely a different experience because it is a different culture there, but it's not so different. I had done that in my mid-20s, and I came to Mexico when I was like 30 something, 33, something like that, to visit. I did a little tourist trip. And then I moved the next year. And I said, what I'm doing in the US, that's my journey. I'm not saying that everyone should move. Um, but I do think people should travel. And a lot of my very good friends travel often. And I hadn't thought about that being a through line of the similarity between them until recently. And I'm someone who I'll go somewhere and live, but I don't always keep traveling. Like I'm a very slow traveler in that way. So this year, I intentionally said, I'm going to go somewhere every month, even if it's just a weekend away, to like another nearby town. I'll rent a car and I'll drive the hour and a half or whatever. So far, so good. Um, yeah, I have traveled every, every month this year so far, or March. I have a trip coming up this weekend. Um, April is TBD, but I'll go somewhere. Probably to a lake cabin or something. Uh, May is interesting. May has a lot of the travel, which is, I guess, part of why I made this video. Um, I'll be going to Barcelona and London and Costa Rica. And then Mexico City is part of that travel one piece. And then back home to Guadalajara. I'm excited. I haven't done that much travel in a short period of time, ever. I've been to Costa Rica before, but I've never been to Barcelona and I've never been to London. So I'm fulfilling bucket list things. Yeah. Don't worry, this is not about you donating to my trip. Like, I booked it. We're fine. um, not but, and how exciting. Why am I going to be in these different places? I've wanted to go to Barcelona for maybe, I don't know, 15 to 17 years. I stopped counting. Um, and I used to want to go to London really bad before that. I used to love British cinema and um, a lot of the history there. I've since moved away from that intensity, but I still want to see it because I'll be there. But Costa Rica, I'm going to for a retreat. Yay! um, and this retreat, I love hosting retreat. I love being in retreat. Uh, and I don't love it because it's relaxing for me. When I'm hosting, I'm usually not in my most relaxed state. Okay. There's a lot that goes into it, but it allows me to connect with um, people in such a deep and meaningful way with such a focused process. Um, I had done retreat in Costa Rica before with groups. Um, this is going to be fun, but it's also, I'll be real honest, I think it's going to be uncomfortable in the highest possible meaning of that word. When I'm in Costa Rica, I'm usually pulled out of my own comfort zone because the climate can be very humid. The bugs are bigger. The hiking and the lifestyle around it is far more active and it places demands on my body that my body doesn't usually feel. You know, I'm not the most athletic among us. Spent most of my years being a nerd who was not also athletic. Okay. um, I do I do creativity. I do nerd stuff as far as intellectualizing. I don't necessarily do. fitness for fun, but I do fitness. Okay. Um, there's going to be a healthy dose of that on this trip. There's waterfall hikes and, uh, plunges into said waterfalls. Um, there might be a farm tour. Um, there's a beach day. Those are kind of the components and activities and excursion type things, right? But you can book yourself a trip to Costa Rica and go do that. You don't need me for that. You don't need other people for that. Um, but people is what I'm good at, curating experiences and connections with folks. So if you've made it this far, cool. Um, the focus of my work, be it um, be it professional work where I'm mostly doing therapy and mental health support or naturopathic doctoring stuff. The focus of that is often um, working with people who have a very bright light that they don't know how to share with the world safely. People who they may categorize it as having spiritual gifts or being very intuitive, or they may have something where they're like, I'm, I can connect in these ways. I have messages for the world and people. I want to change things. I want to heal the world. And it sounds so crazy when I say that out loud because everyone might be feeling that they want to, but for some reason I think that I can. Like those are the types of people I often work with, potentially because I feel like that often as well. And that it's a big thing to admit that that's what you want to help the world do. And to also feel so small at the same time because you're just one person. But that is why we connect. And that is why we do groups. And that is why the podcast is the we in wellness. I really believe in community support in those ways. So what am I talking about? Um, I've run retreats that are based on writing. I've run retreats that are based on plant medicine and kind of waking up the spiritual gifts inside that I think all of us have spiritual capacities in different ways, and intuitive capacity and emotional capacity. Um, so, whichever way you want to categorize that based on your belief system, I'm respectful of that. This retreat is like plant medicine's optional. Okay. It will be there if you want it, or you believe, if you want psilocybin, then we're going to do that at the end of the retreat. If you want a very similar experience without the medicine, because some people are like, if it's not medicine, I'm not doing it. And some people are like, I want that without medicine. What's the other way? And this is that way. So instead of plant medicine, we'll be actually doing a drum making ceremony and stretching deer skin and that entire process of ceremony, which I'm very excited about. My cat's here. Um, but that being said, this retreat, the focus of it, not just the excursions and things we do, the focus is who are you really? How are you with others when you really are who you are? What do they see in you? What do you see in you? And what do you see in others? Um, what I mean by all of that is how do you connect and how are you witnessed when you're being your full out self? So we're going to be doing different workshops and experiences and stuff, but underneath all of that, there's this intention that matters, which is uh I practicing showing up as who you want to be and who you really are, so that you can do that in your day-to-day life whenever you leave Costa Rica or go back home to Costa Rica if you're from there. Um, yeah. So I hope what I'm saying makes sense. Because people are always like, "Oh my god, you give so much context and try to understand," but this is really the way I communicate because it's a nebulous sort of thing that I'm trying to convey to you. It's not a I can't tell you, "You want this, I give you this, it costs this, done." That's not how I work. Um, that's not how this awakening, alivening works. It's more about what question do you have and what spaces and contexts and experiences can I provide that help you answer that question? It's even how I do therapy. I'm like, I always tell people, you write your own goals. They will morph over time as we work together. They'll get more and more clear, but I can't determine how you define health because it's your life. So yeah. Uh, with that, um, I'm excited for this retreat because I'm curating it around the people who are coming, as opposed to telling you this is what it is. And if you want that, come do this. I know where we're staying. I know some of the things that I think would be lovely for us to do. I know that the psilocybin is optional. And so you can have this experience or that experience for ceremony. Um, but I don't know which day will do what, or if we need to do more journaling prompts or we need to do more meditation. Like that really depends on who's coming. So when is this? It's gonna start the last week of May in Costa Rica in Tinamaste. Uh the 27th, maybe the 28th, depending on who's coming. Um and we'll be in connection and community with each other for 7 days. So it'll run through the beginning of June, and then we can go our separate ways. Um, but of course, there's preparation work before I do the diets for people, to help them connect and center more. If you happen to be doing the Baha'i fast right now, like I am, you may already be on part of that journey, um, or Ramadan, or etc. As we come into this divine springtime. Um, And then when it comes to integration work afterwards, I'm planning on doing integration work whether you take plant medicine or not. Uh, yes. So that's what's happening. I'm planning on having only 6 people as participants. So, and there's already some interest. Um, so if you are interested, please contact me very soon, so that we can do like a one-on-one to see if like what your needs are. I can plan them and bake them into the retreat. Uh, And I also kinda do a check on who's coming and will their personalities flow well together. Same if I'm pulling in an additional facilitator or not. So, that's what's happening. Um, I hope you're excited like I am. I will tell you the general ballpark price range is gonna be somewhere between USD, 5,000 and 6,500, um, which will depend on who's coming and for what. Uh, and there's financing options available. I know it's like, oh, it's 2 months out. Like, I don't know. Um, but yeah, if you want to come to the main retreat and finance it for 6 months or so, that's an option. Um, lovely. Okay, so I'm giving you my updates about me. I'm looking forward to hearing updates about you in the comments, reply in an email, etc., etc. Uh, yeah. Okay. Bye for now.